to go over the fact that we are a little psycho, all of us. We're all a little psycho. We're all a little delusional. And I went ahead and I went to the Hare psychopathy. Oh, gosh. Let's try that again. Psychopathy. Yeah. Psychopathy scale. And there are certain traits that are assessed by the PCL-R score. And there are different tests that you can take. And I thought that it might be kind of fun to go over some of the elements that fulfill being a psychopath. Now, the research that I've done is basically anybody who scores 40 or higher on the Hare psychopathy scale is a psychopath. Now, granted, understand, just because someone's a psychopath does not mean they're a criminal. There are plenty of psychopaths that aren't criminals, just like there are plenty of people that, you know, have things going on with them that don't fit the norm. So here we go. We got 20 things. We got glib and superficial charm. I always have a problem with glib. I've looked it up and now, of course, I've forgotten what it means. But superficial charm is pretty self-explanatory. It means that people run a facade. They're charming. They're engaging maybe, but you can figure out that it's really not real if you look close enough. I mean, for me, I've been around the block and I've always been pretty good at noticing my surroundings, and I know people that are pretty good at following their instincts. They have the ability to judge character by talking to somebody, and they can get a pretty good sense of who they are. Now, another element on the psychopathy scale is being grandiose. So what they're talking about is like if they have an inflated image of themselves, like, oh, gee, I'm superior, I'm the greatest thing since sliced bread. Anything like that is also a bad thing. Well, as far as being a psychopath, or a good thing if you want to be a psychopath, I guess. Who knows? Who knows? You might get bored easily, and the way they've got it listed here is the need for stimulation. I'm telling you, I know plenty of people that are super duper high IQ in the master's program. Everybody is brilliant to some degree, and a lot of them get bored. So I don't know if being bored means, well, I guess when you tabulate the score at the end, it depends on what the end score is. Because, again, anything under 30, I think, is okay. I think anything under 20 was okay. But 40 is basically rating pretty high, and that it's most likely that that person is going to be diagnosed as being a psychopath. So, but like I said, people who are smart, people who have high IQs, people who have a lot of knowledge, they have a tendency to get bored, in my opinion. And of course, my show, my opinion, weird works that way. Pathological lying is another element. So I knew someone like this. I knew people, well, actually, I've known people like this, that they'll just lie for no good reason. It's not to protect somebody's feelings. It's not to, like, protect themselves from some wrongdoing or something like that. They just lie just to lie. Oh, yeah, my parents had a nightclub that changed over every 2 years. And then, you know, the people that tell you, oh, no, I didn't take that from you. No. You know, I guess that still fulfills the whole protecting yourself lying thing. But I guess it would be maybe lying to bolster yourself up and, you know, part of the grandiose situation. So, cunning and manipulativeness. Oh, well, yeah. Hello. Anybody who messes with somebody's mind is exhibiting psychopathic behavior. And honestly, I think this is another thing that we've all done at some point in our lives that we've been manipulative. I mean, really, your mom's manipulative. Who doesn't have a mom who doesn't manipulate them? Because, and I say that because it's just the fact of life. When parents tell you things, when they're teaching you lessons, sometimes they do that in a manipulative way. It would be ideal if they didn't mess with your head, and then, when you grow up, you're all messed up from that. That's just bad. But, okay, so we got cunning and manipulativeness. Lack of remorse or guilt. So, obviously, these are people, everybody does things and messes up and breaks things and hurts people, and, the list goes on, and I can't even think about it at this point. But the point here is, if you don't feel bad that you've done something that is conceived as bad, that's considered an element of being a psychopath. If you do something and you don't feel guilty about it, that is considered fulfilling an element of psychopathy. So shallow affect, superficial emotional responsiveness, something that I have also seen a lot as far as the definition of a psychopath is basically that these people have no idea what emotions are. They're unable to actually experience emotion. So that also ties in with the manipulativeness, because they're not going to care about manipulating people. There's also callousness and lack of empathy. Now, empathy is different from sympathy. And empathy is actually being able to put yourself in somebody else's shoes, where sympathy is basically that you feel sad for someone else, but you don't know how they feel. And although there are plenty of people that think that they can empathize with you, I don't know that they can actually have empathy, because if you take the literal definition of empathy, that person, in order for them to know how you feel, they would have had to experience exactly the same things you've experienced in your life. And that's unlikely. That is very unlikely. They say that even if you clone yourself, if we ever get to the point where we're cloning ourselves, and obviously it's not like it is in the movies, there's not a blank. You don't download your consciousness into an already grown thing, which, obviously it may come to that at some point. But cloning now is when you take the DNA and you copy it and you grow a new thing. So that new thing starts out in the growth stage. So if you cloned yourself, you'd be a baby, obviously. So what I'm getting at, going the long way around the barn, as per usual, is that even if you cloned yourself, you'd be a different person. That clone would be a different person, because that clone is not going to have experienced the same things that you have, good or bad, positive or negative, neutral, anything. If that changes even slightly, that may change the way they think about things. That will change the way they react to things. So, that goes off on that rant tangent for empathy. Wow. I just really took a left turn there, didn't I? So we've got also parasitic lifestyle, meaning, of course, that you're going to feed off of others, let others pay for you often, not pay for yourself, is pretty much the biggest example that they had used. Okay, I'm getting parched. It's bad talking for 30 minutes and, I'm going to have to run out and take a water break or something. Oh, ha, 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 ha. All right, anyway. So we've got also poor behavioral controls. That, again, is another thing that a lot of people can have. Sometimes people just aren't taught manners. Sometimes people are just impulsive. Sexual promiscuity is another one. Early behavior problems. Okay, so that's getting in trouble in school or when you're a kid, being a problem child. Lack of realistic or long-term goals. Oh, gosh. Who doesn't have realistic goals? Hold it. Wait a minute. Wait, let me back it up. That didn't come out right. Who doesn't have non-realistic goals? Don't we all? fantasize about winning the lottery at some point and say, oh, I'm going to be the next Facebook. I'm going to be the next Google. I am going to do something that is going to turn the world on its behind. And I am going to make millions and millions of dollars. I think that we all do that. I think that we have to do that a little bit just to be sane. Okay, so here we go. Impulsivity. Okay, we went over impulsivity. Impulsivity is poor behavioral controls. It's the same thing. Irresponsibility. Okay, there are plenty of people that are irresponsible. But again, I guess this is in the light of if you can tick, a bunch of these 20 things, and I don't know what would give you a score. Oh, yeah, that's what it was. The questions were on a Likert scale of 0, 1, and 2. And obviously, if you got up to 40, and if there's 20 questions, and if you answered 2 on each question, that would give you 40. So you would end up being a psychopath. But if you entered 0 to some, and 1 to some, and 2 to some, that would give you a different score. So, yeah, that we go back to how many times, you're going to score these on a 1 or 2 and go from there. So, failure to accept responsibility for your own actions. Okay, most people do that. I don't know a whole lot of people that actually are big enough to say, yes, I was wrong. Yes, I screwed up. Yes, it's all my fault. Well, at least a little my fault. There aren't a whole lot of people like that. And I think that people who are big enough to accept when they've done something and they're wrong, it says a lot about that person. But anyway, again, I digress. Many short-term marital relationships. I don't know about that. What's short-term? I mean, according to some polls now, many people believe that the average length of a a marriage is 6 years. Okay, that's pretty sad. Think about this. Think about how things have changed over the years. I mean, it used to be you kept the same job for your entire life. You kept the same spouse for your entire life. There was no divorce was frowned on. All these things that have changed over time, which we're going to go over that too. I got to make a note here because I saw a kind of funny movie, and it was an old movie, and I want to go over that when we're going to the movie section here. So we've got many short-term marital relationships. We've got juvenile delinquency. And again, this is another big thing that a lot of kids go through. I think a growing stage where they're going to be delinquents. I think that's kind of part of what growing up is. But again, we have to consider how high you score on that. Revocation of a conditional release. I don't know what they mean by that, in what context they mean that in. And criminal is it versatility? What? Okay. Criminal versatility. Okay, so I guess if you can be a different kind of criminal or different types of criminal behavior, that's what they're saying there. That's all I can figure out. I don't know. But anyway, I just thought it was kind of fun. I thought it was interesting how you could actually end up scoring high on the scale depending on if you do 0, 1, or 2. Again, if you want to take this test yourself, it is called the Hare, H-A-R-E, psychopathy scale. And let's see here. The web address or the URL is vistrial.com/psychopath test. It's pretty interesting. Score yourself. See where you fall. Now remember, if you're a teen, do not take this test, because all teens are psychopaths. They have actually determined that there's no real good test, at least last I read, to test teenagers for psychopathy because they're just crazy. Well, they're going through a lot. They're, experiencing new things, and their brain isn't completely grown yet. So we've got all that. But I thought it was pretty cool. I think it was pretty interesting